Hey guys, this is Ashley. Welcome on back to my channel. So I have another Sister Loc video for you, and it is how to care for your Sister Locs, or tips and tricks that I recommend that I have learned along my journey. So let me go ahead and introduce myself. If you're new to this channel, welcome, and if you're older but goodie, welcome on back. My name is Ashley. I have a doctorate in pharmacy and I love makeup. So that's how you get Dr. Ash and her makeup, but please just call me Ash or Ashley. And I have been documenting my Sister Loc journey. So I have had Sister Locs for 4 years now. My establishment date was November 20th of 2020. And my hair texture is thin, fine, low density, and my hair is super soft. And I can honestly say that since I've had Sister Locs, my hair has totally flourished. It has morphed into something that I didn't even know was possible, and I will never go back. So I have so many videos about my Sister Locs from like basically the very beginning, from like week 1 all the way up until now, and during the very beginning process also, because I know a lot of people like to see like, okay, what did week 1 look like, and what did you look like after 1 month, 2 months, 3, 4, on kind of on and on into a year. And then of just other videos on how I keep up my Sister Locs, things I recommend. But these are kind of like 10 things that I think that you should definitely do when caring for your Sister Locs. Of course, caring for your Sister Locs can be different at all stages of your journey, but some of the simple process, some of these simple techniques you can kind of basically carry throughout with you. And this is like if you're looking to lock your hair, or if your hair is maybe not as mature and you're kind of trying to figure out like what do you have to look forward to once your locks get matured. Now, in the very beginning, you know, you're starting off fresh. This can be a very expensive investment. Let me tell you something. I don't know how true this is. Well, I mean, I guess it's true. Somebody told me, literally at work today, they were complimenting me on my Sister Locs, and she was like, her mother wants them so bad. And she was like, she was quoted $2,500 to $3,000 for her install. I said, wow. My install was $1,000. I was like, mine was $1,000. She was like, well, that was 2020. I was like, yeah, but that's a lot of inflation. And I do understand, and I get why it costs so much money. Like my install costs $1,000, like I just mentioned, but it took like 2.5 days. And when I talk about like 2.5 days, like they were like 8-hour sessions, you know, it was a lot of work. My hair was super fine, just getting it, you know, to lock. And luckily I have a really good loctician, but I definitely feel like it was worth the money, and worth the money that I spend now as far as maintaining my hair for the reties. But that's like $50-something an hour. But nevertheless, when you get into having Sister Locs, like you want to take care of your hair, because of course you want to get to the level where like I am now, or when you see your inspo pictures on Instagram, or whatever led you to want to get this particular hairstyle for yourself and take on this journey, okay? So my number 1 tip, of course, is going to be listen to your loctician. Like, you need to listen to them, follow their expertise. Especially, you definitely want to have somebody who is trained in Sister Locs, a Sister Loc consultant. You know, you want to listen to your loctician and do what they recommend. In the very beginning of getting your Sister Locs, it is super important that you follow these steps. And like number 2 would definitely be braiding and banding your hair. So what does that mean? When you go ready to go to bed, like because of my hair texture is thinner, it's finer, and it had the potential of possibly unraveling or slipping, which I actually didn't have too much, which is like a little bit around the perimeter, you want to braid and band your hair. This is especially important when you get ready to wash your hair. And then also I would do it when I would go to sleep. So every night what I would do, I would just basically take some little sections and I would literally just braid my hair. I would, you know, braid it, which I hardly ever do anymore. But I do now still sometimes when I wash my hair, because it gets heavy. So you braid your hair, you know, and when I say band, you will put a rubber band on the end to help keep in the ends and keep it from like unraveling when you're getting ready to wash your hair. And I would sleep like that too. So I slept like that for, I want to say, about 6 to 8 months. And she said I didn't have to braid and band my hair anymore. And then I want to say within a year, she said I didn't have to braid it and band it anymore when I got ready to wash it. So it's very important, braiding and banding your hair, especially the wash process. You could be, sometimes you might have an off night here. You know, we're all guilty of just like falling asleep. But make sure you're braiding your band in your hair, especially when you're ready to wash it. Because what happens is sometimes those immature locks, like the ends will start unraveling, or sometimes you can have a lot of slippage, especially if you're newer locks, or especially if you're starting from a shorter starting point. My locks started about right here when I started off my journey, but some people do start shorter, and you want to make sure you keep the integrity of your locks together. And it will also help you when you get ready to go ahead and separate your locks after washing your hair, okay? So you definitely want to make sure you are doing that. Number 3, you also want to keep your scalp clean. So this is going to be a little bit different, for every person, depending on what goes on with their scalp. If they're like a person who sweats a lot, if you're a person who works out a lot. Also, if you're working out a lot, I also suggest that maybe you braid your hair, or sometimes I put like one of those sweatbands like right here, especially along the perimeter. And just to like, if I have like baby locks or locks that are less mature, let's see, I got one like right in here. So now she's more mature and I don't feel like she's going to unravel on me. And this lock came in June of 2024, but because I got some new hair right here. But you have to be careful. So you just like when you're working out, things like that, you also want to be cognizant. You want to tie down your hair, and you probably want to maybe braid and band it there as well. And keeping your scalp clean. So if you're working out, like I just mentioned, or you just sweat a lot in your hair, I tend to sweat a lot in my hair in the summertime. Or if maybe you have a problem with dandruff, you definitely want to keep your hair clean. Or if you have a problem with dry scalp. I have more so have dry scalp versus dandruff. So definitely going ahead, making sure that you're keeping your scalp clean, making sure that maybe you're taking a wet face cloth going in between the lines of your grid to just make sure that your scalp is clean, because of course your hair is going to flourish the best when your scalp is clean. I also definitely recommend like using a mixture between apple cider vinegar and like 1 part apple cider vinegar, another part water, just put it in a spray bottle and like spraying your scalp, because that right there will help a lot with itching, because in the beginning you kind of do have a lot of itching, but you definitely want to be careful with washing your hair too soon. And usually your loctician will tell you like when is it safe for you to wash your hair, maybe a couple of weeks after having your hair installed. And then it also just kind of depends, especially with washing your hair, you're kind of going to figure out like your schedule. When I had first got my locks installed, I was washing my hair almost like every week and a half. And that's because my hair was super fine and the oil would travel down so fast. Now that my hair is matured, I can literally go a month. I can go a month and a half. Unless it's like the summertime, then of course I'm like, my hair is going to be itching because I'm sweating and things of that nature. But I can literally stretch it out and you'll just kind of know. You'll also know, sometimes I feel it for me personally in the integrity of how my locks feel. If my locks look like stringy kind of, like if they look kind of stringy and not like fluffy, if they feel like really stiff, if like, they're not pliable and they're just kind of like, they feel like they might want to snap or something like that, I know like, okay, my hair is really dirty and I need to wash it. So those are things that I just kind of look for. You'll kind of just get to know what your hair is going to feel like at different stages of the journey. Like, do I need to wash it? Do I not need to wash it? Or do I just kind of need to put a little water through my locks and go ahead and kind of keep it pushing? Another thing is you want to be careful with using too much water to like mist your hair and things like that in the beginning, because it can cause your hair to unravel. So you want to be careful with that. Now, another thing is like, so number 4, I would make sure you're tying your hair down at night. Don't just sleep on your hair, okay? I know it's like, oh, we got the cute hairstyle, you're just sleeping on it. Put a bonnet on, put a scarf on, tie your hair down, because it will also help protect your locks, especially when they're first maturing, when you first start your locking process. But then also as like your hair gets older and more mature. It's the same thing if you were a loose natural or if you had a relaxer. You're going to put your bonnet on, you're going to put your scarf on to protect the texture of your hair, to protect it from drying out. All of those things still apply to the locks. So you want to make sure you do it. Also make sure you do it. I prefer to sleep with my bonnet on as well, because if I just lay on my hair, I feel like I'm pulling on my hair. Like I'm just laying on it versus, I'm like, I'll pull it on it. So I don't like to have that feeling. So I definitely want to make sure, you're tying your hair down at night. And then number 5, you also want to watch out for having too much tension in your locks. So usually if your loctician is retying your hair correctly, you shouldn't have too much tension, and you shouldn't have any like little white. I remember in the very beginning, like somebody told me like, oh, if you see little white spots, like it could be your follicles, you shouldn't have that. If you start seeing your follicles coming out, like you might have one or two there because of the shedding, but if you're like literally seeing like follicles and stuff like that, you're pulling your hair too tight. You want to be careful about those ponytails, the buns. For me, sometimes I even have to be careful with the headbands, like especially the headbands that just go all the way around your hair, because they'll just like pull. You don't want to pull in your locks because it also depends on the texture of your hair. I have finer hair, so therefore some of my locks are going to be more fragile in certain areas of my hair. And the same thing can apply to you. You have too much tension on it, it's going to cause your locks to be weak. You're going to have like little holes. They're going to seem like, there's just going to be like, oh, here. Even in the middle of your hair, you can damage them. Like putting them around rollers too tight, you can kind of like stretch out the ends. I was trying to figure out if I have an end that looks kind of weak, but I think all of my little weak ends have kind of gone away. Do I have one here? No. But basically, if you have your lock and you're taking it and you're wrapping it around, things like that, and you're pulling it tight, you can stretch out the middle. So you'll have middle breakage, you can have top breakage, you can have end breakage. So you definitely want to be careful. You also don't want to be pulling on your hair because you're going to stress your follicles out. Then your hair is not going to be growing at the rate you want it to grow. And a lot of us, I think a lot of us want to have long and you want to have long and healthy locks, but it might not be everybody's goal to have locks all down their back, anything like that. But at the end of the day, you want your lock integrity to be good. You don't want them damaged. You spend a lot of money on your install, your upkeep. You finally got into a place where you're happy with how your hair looks. You feeling, you're out of the awkward stages, and that could be different for everybody depending on their hair texture. So you want to be careful of the tension, because even now I feel like a lot of times I'll just wear my hair down. I've been wearing a part. Yesterday I wore a bun. I wore a low bun, but today I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm still careful about my headbands. I've been having some issues with the back of my skull right here. So I've been I haven't really been wearing a whole lot of headbands because just that pressure right there. And that's just something I'm going through personally. But just be careful of the tension because it can just really damage your locks. And like I said, you don't want that. Then you also want to make sure you are moisturizing your locks, but you got to have the right type of moisture. So in the beginning stages of your locks, you don't want to over moisturize your hair. You just probably want to do at best, get your little spray bottle of water and kind of mist your hair. Maybe put the water in your hands and just kind of work it through your hair, or just kind of spray directly. Because you don't just need to add a little bit of moisture onto your hair. Some people use rose water. I feel like that's okay. I have seen things where people are like, oh, it could be more drying. So I would be careful about how much you're using of that rose water. Usually I just use some plain old water from like the refrigerator filter and put it in a spray bottle and spray my hair, and it was pretty much fine. You don't want to be using oils and things like that because you can get a lot of product buildup in your locks, or it can cause your locks to slip, especially if they're new. So you want to be careful with that. Now, as my locks have matured, I'm able to use like conditioner when I wash my hair. So that has definitely helped with the softening of my hair. But my hair was like a year and a half, almost 2 years old before she was like, okay, you can start using that with the different Sister Loc products. And now that I have my hair colored, I use the shampoo and the conditioner that the colorist recommends to just also keep my locks in check. And then also like moisture. One thing that I do is kind of like a cheat code for me. Like I kind of do like my steams. So I know some people sit there and they sit underneath the steamer and do that whole treatment. I just kind of do like a little ghetto steam, as I would call it. Like basically I get in the shower and I might have a ponytail, but I don't have my bonnet on. So like just basically that steam that's coming off the shower can hit my locks, and that causes my locks to feel so much better. They're a lot more softer. They're very pliable, and like it's just kind of like you feel like, okay, they're not stiff and dry and feeling kind of brittle. Right now it is the winter time. It's been very cold here in Chicago, so I have been kind of like spraying my scalp a little bit with the Sister Locs moisture spray, and then kind of just also doing the steam also a little bit more because, like I said, it's dry. I have dry scalp depending on the seasons, and like I just noticed, I was like, I'll be itching a lot, and I'm like, okay, my scalp is just dry because it's so cold outside. Not to mention, you want to be drinking water. Like, the water you drink is going to provide moisture for your hair, for it to flourish. It's going to help your scalp. Drinking water is very important in your Sister Loc journey. If you want that nice, healthy hair, you need to drink your water, okay? I do also take Nutrafol, those hair vitamins, and it has helped my hair like grow and even more, but it's not necessary. But definitely drinking your water for sure. Okay. Then also you want to get your reties on schedule, because if you have thinner hair, also with the Sister Locs are smaller, so you can't do like those super long stretches that people with traditional like palm or locks will go through. Okay, we kind of need to get our hair retightened, because what will happen, especially when my hair is finer, I'll have locks start connecting to each other, so I'll need to go through and separate, even if my hair isn't wet. In addition, like, you can definitely kind of like mess up your locks. Like, it's been a time where, I was like, okay, putting a hand through here. I'm like, oh shoot, that's a hole. Or if you're putting too much tension and you're not getting your hair retied on a good, proper schedule, like, you can pull the lock out, because you have your lock, you have your hair right here, and it'll just generally feel weaker, like all that new growth that you have. And then you have the lock hanging down off of that. So you definitely want to get your reties done in a timely manner. You'll kind of figure out what your schedule is. In the beginning, I was doing every 6 weeks. And a couple of times when my hair started growing a little bit faster, I was doing it 5 weeks. Then now it's like every 6, sometimes it's 7 weeks. It's been 8 weeks, I think. This last time, because of the holidays, I ended up going like 9 weeks. That's not always fun, because I just get so much new growth, which I'm thankful for, but I'm like, oh Jesus, this done took me out, okay? So, and then you want to also be careful with coloring your locks. So I started off with my hair colored when I locked my hair, and then that hair just kind of transitioned off, and you could definitely see like the difference between like my hair that hadn't been colored and the hair that was colored. The hair that hadn't been colored, that was growing into the locks, especially after year 1, year 2, like, it was just so much thicker. It was just a better integrity hair versus like my ends where I had the color and they were just kind of like snapping off and damaged during that whole process. It didn't look bad, but it was like, you could definitely tell, like, I had some little areas where it was just like, oh, like how I was kind of talking about the hair being damaged in the middle. It was just like a little string, and I could literally just like snatch it off, So you definitely want to be careful about overcoloring your hair, because I know a lot of times, like, we see people with locks and they're always changing up their hair color. They're coloring this color, that color, especially like these fantasy colors or something like that. And you have to lift the hair. It's the same coloring process as when you were coloring your regular loose natural hair, where they have to pull and lift that hair in order to go ahead and dye it. And then I've also seen people who have like literally dyed their hair so much that Sister Locs have started coming out. So you don't want to do that. You want to be careful. You want to follow the guidelines. Go to some place that your loctician recommends. The person that colors my hair colors her hair. And then I just kind of also follow like their regimen is also. Like, I went back for an Olaplex treatment as he recommended. And my loctician was like, okay, that's good. You know what I mean? And I'm using the shampoo, which is the Joico shampoo and conditioner, and to wash my hair and keep the integrity of the color and keep the integrity of my hair as well. So you just want to be careful with dyeing your hair too much. Just really recommend, listen to what your loctician is saying, especially if you're just starting your locks and you don't have color and like your color is growing out. And I know it's a little bit different for everybody depending on what their hair texture looks like or what their hair color is, or if they have gray hairs coming in. I'm fortunate. I don't have too many gray hairs. I think I have more gray hairs in my eyelashes than I do on my head. But I know it can just be like difficult. Some people are not like, they don't want to see the grays, but definitely want to be careful. because you don't want to mess up the integrity of your locks. And then also you want to be careful using products. So if you're going to use like a gel or anything like that to slick down your edges, and I've done that too, or sometimes I'll just put the scarf to lay down these edges. It's not so bad now because I had a retie the beginning of January. It is like January 25th. Like my hair is starting to grow, but honestly, I feel like, I don't know, certain times of the year it's a little bit slower, so I feel like I'm in my little slower stage at the moment, and then kind of like spring and summer, it really kind of takes off. But you definitely want to be careful with using too much product in your hair, too much water. If you're using some type of gel, you want to use like a water-based gel so you're not getting any product buildup in your locks. And then my last tip again is listen to your loctician. So I hope you guys enjoy like what I had to present, and if anything like this hits home for you. But these are definitely things that you want to, you know, make sure you're doing while having your Sister Loc. So while you're on your Sister Loc journey, because baby, you didn't put too much effort and time into the journey and looking, like getting from the different stages, because it's definitely different. When I go back and look at my hair, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I've definitely come a long way, and I've embraced every stage of my journey. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, if something happens to my hair, I'm be pissed, because it's literally, besides the length, it's where I want it to be. So I want my hair to grow. So I'm like broad strap left in the back. Like, you know, when you put your hair all in the back, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm hidden. You know what I mean? But I still want it to be longer, and I want it to at least, you know, in the front, I need it to be like about right here in the front. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So I think by the end of this year, like, and then you do have to remember, I don't know if you remember or you did see my video, I did end up getting a lock trim. So my hair was a lot longer, but I ended up getting trim. And that is something I could recommend also for caring for your locks. I got a lock trim, and it really did help like even out things, because my hair was kind of like all over the place in terms of length because of the locking process and that damaged hair just coming off and getting rid of it, and you know, my locks just maturing. So getting the lock trim definitely helped like with my hair and how the shape looked, and it made them look more full, especially if you have finer hair and you don't have as many Sister Locs as somebody who has a denser hair. Getting the lock trim, when you get to a good place, when you get to a good length that you're comfortable with having your hair trimmed, because I definitely waited. I was like, yeah, because I want to retain a lot of my length, you know. It's not necessarily like clipping your ends, like your hair is going to split up the shaft or anything like that when you're loose natural. But, you know, I definitely getting lock trim definitely helped like how much nicer and more full my hair looks. So it just really helped the overall aesthetic. But my hair has pretty much grown back since that lock trim. It was about up here. So it's definitely like a lot longer, and it just looks a lot better in general because, you know, it's pretty much all the same length, and I'm not having these little, some down here, some up here, and, you know, making it look not as thick. So yes, that is something I do also recommend too. And I think that was pretty much it. So leave me a comment down below and give this video a big thumbs up. I do have a Sister Loc playlist. So if you are on here and you just kind of see this channel and or see the video, and I'm late, of course, I'm later in my journey, but I do have, like I said, mentioned before, I do have videos going on back from the very beginning of my journey, and I'm always adding to this playlist as I find more content to talk about with my Sister Locs. So if you guys don't know, the way I end the videos around here on the makeup side of things, and I hope you would join me for the makeup also, if not just for the Sister Locs, is at the end of the video, after you subscribe, please subscribe, because I want you here in my little family, but we got to end it with a chair dance. So you already know what time it is. It's time for the chair dance, chair dance. Hey, 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 chair dance. Chair dance. Chair dance. All right, y'all. Bye.